breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got a tremendous podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Matt Williams. No, not the former third baseman of the San Francisco Giants, but this man named Matt Williams is just as epic because he does great work over at the GameDay MLB. Is very locked into everything that we've been seeing this baseball season. We're going to be chatting with him in segment number 2 in terms of what to expect now from the Giants and the Padres. A lot of people were caught up in that series in Mexico City, and trust me, I was too, and it was a tremendous series, but now both of these teams are going to be playing on Monday. They have to go from Mexico to the United States, so just what to expect out of the travel spot there. We're going to be taking a look at the Monday card, how he just goes about being able to handicap some of these strange scheduling spots. We've also got a double dip between the Mets and the Atlanta Braves, how he's going to be going about those games and just what he likes on the money card in general. I know that he's going to talk a little bit about the trends and seeing having to lay a run and a half instead of a half a run in terms of first fives as well. So you want to stick around for segment number 2 to be able to get insights there. In the final segment, I'm going to give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @unit_81. Keep in mind letters EM. The mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you are able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter questions today, but we did have a great day of baseball on Sunday. So let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Game number 1 of Padres versus Giants went over the total by north of 10 runs. This one goes under the total by 10 runs. A lot of places close this anywhere between about a 19.5 to a 20. I stupidly wrote up the under on Saturday. It turns out I should have wrote it up on Sunday. As if you followed this podcast, the picks for the series did go 3-1, so I'll give myself a little bit of credit there. But 6-4, the Padres were able to get it done. Yu Darvish gives up 4 runs across 6 innings, punches out 9, but out of the hits he gave up, 3 of those were home runs. As Mitch Haniger is second of the series and second of the season, J.D. Davis is 6th, Lamonte Wade is 5th, and the Padres bullpen had his back. Luis Garcia, 2 scoreless innings. Josh Hader comes in. He closes the door in the 9th inning with a scoreless inning, and for the Giants, Alex Cobb gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings as he was taken deep by Austin Nola, his first home run season. From there, the Giants bullpen continued to be the Giants bullpen, as you had Camilo Duvall give up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Tyler Rogers gives up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning before John Brebbia and Scott Alexander gave a scoreless inning. But this was a surprisingly low-scoring game. You had 19 hits in a game that had a total that was north of 19, so under is able to come through there. Unfortunately, the DK Nation write-up streak is on a 2-game losing streak after a 6-game win streak, so we'll look to pick it up here this week as we had over 8 in the Cubs versus Miami Marlins game, and well, the Cubs did not do their part. 4-3, the Miami Marlins are able to get it done. Justin Steele, relatively solid start, gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned over the course of 6 innings, and then Keegan Thompson allows a run while getting just 1 out of the bullpen. Michael Fulmer, scoreless inning. Albert Alzolay, he got a pair of outs out of the bullpen, and really the main form of offense for the Chicago Cubs was a Cody Bellinger home run off of Andrew Nardi, his 7th home run of the season. For Brian Hoying, who's been terrible throughout his MLB career, north of an 11 ERA entering, he looked solid. Gave up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Nardi from there gives up that home run in an inning, but Matt Barnes, Tanner Scott, AJ Puck, they all lend a scoreless inning, and for the Miami Marlins, they go 3 of 8 with men in scoring position to be able to get it done. By the way, the Miami Marlins have played just 3 of their home games to the over thus far this season. The Milwaukee Brewers got completely blanked by the LA Angels, 3-0 the final as Shohei Ohtani was able to go deep in this one off of Colin Rhea for his 7th home run season, and Jake Lamb took Mr. Rhea deep for his first of the campaign for Rhea. Not a bad start, 9 strikeouts in 5 innings. He gives up 2 runs. Fortunately, both of the runs they gave up were on solo runs. Holby Milner gives up a run in 1/3 of an inning, but you did have Joel Payamps give you an out of the bullpen. Jake Cousins 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Tyson Miller 2 scoreless innings. Brewers just could not put up any runs whatsoever. Jose Suarez, who has been a hot mess all season, 5 scoreless innings. From there, Chris Stavinsky, Matt Moore, Carlos Aceves, Chase Silseth, the poo-poo platter of pitchers, all give you a scoreless inning. The Boston Red Sox have now played 3 out of their last 4 games to the under, as they take down the Cleveland Guardians by a count of 7-1 for the Guardians. Their offense just has not been able to provide much of anything. Peyton Battenfield, who was starting a few days ago, had to come out of the bullpen. He gave up 3 runs over the course of 2 innings, including a home run to Alex Verdugo, his 4th of the season. And then you had home run number 1 of the season for one Connor Wong. He was Mr. Right against Nick Sandlin, and Sandlin gave up 2 runs in an inning. Logan Allen got the start. Wasn't a bad start. 8 strikeouts, gives up 2 runs in 5 innings. He'll take that on Fenway, but his offense didn't provide anything. Chris Sale gives up just 1 run in 6 1/3 innings. John Schreiber, pair of outs out of the bullpen before you have Richard Blyer and Brennan Bernardino both provide a scoreless inning. The Seattle Mariners get done against the Toronto Blue Jays in 10 innings by a count of 10-8, as this was just an utter collapse from the Toronto Blue Jays, as they got up in this game by a count of 8-4 after 3 innings, and I believe that they were up 8-5 going into the 8th inning, and then they made like your buddy at the bar and could not close. As for the Seattle Mariners, the former Blue Jay, Teoscar Hernandez, was able to spearhead this one. He was able to get his 7th home run season off of Trevor Richards. Richards gives up 1 run in 2 innings, and then you'd have Anthony Bass get taken deep for a home run. I guess that we all needed to have our popcorn ready for that one. 2 runs, 1 of which were earned. Give it up in 2/3 of an inning, and he was taken deep in this one by Cal Raleigh. Big dumper, got his 4th and 5th home runs of the season as he went deep in the 10th off of Zach Pop, who he was popping like some popcorn. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned over the course of an inning. Yimi Garcia, he gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings. So for Chris Bassett, he does give up 4 runs in the first inning, 5 runs in total, but was able to settle down after that first inning as he did allow a home run, and it was home run number 1 of the season to one Taylor Trammell for Seattle. Not like they got a great start of their own. Modico Gonzalez gives up 8 runs, 5 of which were earned in 3 innings. He was hurt by a Sam Haggerty fielding error, but the bullpen from there was absolutely masterful. 7 scoreless innings from the bullpen as Justin Topa, Paul Sewell, Matt Brash, Gabe Spear, Penn Murphy all provided a scoreless inning, and Chris Flexen 2 scoreless innings. So Seattle's able to get the job done out there. The Washington Nationals were able to get a win over the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are still 20-9, by the way. 7-2 was the final in this one as Johan Oviedo got completely destroyed. He gives up 7 runs and he got 7 outs. The bullpen from there was good. You had Dwayne Underwood Jr. along with Yohan Ramirez both provide a scoreless inning. Jose Hernandez, 2 scoreless innings. Jordi Barreta gets 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. But for Washington, Josiah Gray, another really good start. He gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings, and for Josiah Gray, he has now given up a grand total of 5 runs across his last 5 starts, and yet he's been on the losing end of 3 of those starts, as you had Andres Machado provide 2 scoreless innings, and then Kyle Finnegan, he allows a run in an inning as well, but the Washington Nationals, they were able to get to the window on that one. If you want a bullpen blow-up, this was one that was very unexpected. The Tampa Bay Rays lose to the Chicago White Sox, who were riding a 10-game losing streak. As the Rays, they fall in this one by a count of 12-9. For the Rays, they were up 9-5 going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and the White Sox put up a 7 spot in the bottom of the 9th inning. This was absolutely ridiculous as the Tampa Bay Rays, no shortage of power in this one, as you had Taylor Walls get home run number 4 of the season. Christian Bethencourt gets his 5th home run of the season. Luke Raley, home runs number 6 and 7 of the campaign, as the starter Mike Clevenger. Honestly, not a bad start. He gave up 2 solo home runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, this White Sox bullpen, which has been terrible, continued to be terrible. Reynaldo Lopez gave up 3 runs while getting 1 out. Aaron Bummer, yeah, he's been a bummer. He gives up 2 runs in an inning. Kendall Graveman, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in his 2/3 of an inning. Joe Kelly and Gregory Santos both provided a scoreless inning, but for the Chicago White Sox, pair of home runs in this one. Yasmani Grandal gets home run number 3 of the season off of Drew Rasmussen, who in 5 innings gave up 3 runs, all of which were earned. Not a great start, not a terrible start. From there, you had Colin Boucher give up a run in an inning. Kevin Kelly, scoreless inning. Jason Adam, unearned run, given up in his inning. But the 9th inning, Jalen Beeks gives up 5 runs while getting 2 outs, and then Garrett Clevenger allows the walk-off home run to Andrew Vaughn. He was officially credited with 2 earned runs on his credit, as for Vaughn, 3rd home run of the campaign that completely clears itself. If you had the Rays money line / run line on Sunday, I certainly do feel for you there. The Minnesota Twins, they were not feeling any remorse for the fact that the Royals have gotten off to a rough start to the season. They continue their demise. 8-4 the final for Brady Singer. He just has not looked like himself thus far this season. He got 8 outs and he gave up 8 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run to Byron Buxton, his 7th home run of the season. From there, the bullpen honestly did their part. Josh Shamon, Carlos Hernandez both go 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Amir Garrett, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Josh Shaler, a scoreless inning, but It was just too big of a hole to overcome, and Sonny Gray has been terrific all season long. Gives up 1 run in 6 innings. From there, Josh Winder did give up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, but Brock Stewart, a scoreless inning, Emilio Pagan, an unearned run, give it up in an inning, and Yohan Duran, he comes in for his 6th save of the season. He was able to get the final out to be able to get that one to the window. The New York Yankees, by the way, they are struggling with regards to their bats. I believe that they have now scored 3 runs or fewer in 6 out of their last 8 games. 15-2, the Texas Rangers, who, by the way, have played about 66% of their games of the over, they get it done for Texas. Just a vulgar display of power, to quote the great Panteras. You had 4 different guys go deep in this one. Adolis Garcia off of Nestor Cortez, 8th home run of the season. Cortez served one up to Josh Young, 6th home run season, and he also served one up to Nate Lowe, 4th home run season. Then Albert Abreu gave one up to Jonah Heim, his 5th home run season for Cortez. 7 runs given up in 4 2/3 innings, including that trio of home runs. From there, you had Albert Abreu give up 6 runs in an inning. That's an ERA booster, as I believe that Albert Abreu had entered into this game with an ERA of $1.46. That is certainly going to hurt. And then from there, you did have Nick Ramirez come in and hold down the fort, giving up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings. No Aaron Judge in this game, and expected to be no Aaron Judge on Monday. As for the Yankees, not a lot doing for them. Martin Perez gives up 1 run in 6 innings. You did have a run given up in an inning by Yuri Rodriguez, but you also had a scoreless inning from Cole Reagans along with Ian Kennedy. You had the Arizona Diamondbacks get completely destroyed by the Colorado Rockies as well. 12-4 the final. As for Ryan Nelson, not a good start. Gives up 6 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a home run going deep for Colorado. C.J. Cron, his 6th home run season. Meanwhile, Austin Gombered up the Arizona Diamondbacks. Gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Evan Longoria, his 3rd home run season. From there, you had Brent Suter go for a scoreless inning. Brandon did give up 2 runs in an inning, and he also had a run in an inning given up by Nick Mears. But you know what? The Colorado Rockies already had this game in the bank and earning interest. As for the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen, Joe Mantiply a scoreless inning, but Peter Solomon comes in for 2 1/3 innings. He gives up 6 runs, all of which were earned. And Kyle Nelson, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. As you also had the Cincinnati Reds fall to the Oakland A's. 5-4 the final. For Oakland, yay, verily, they are up to 6-23 on the season, and what has really been profitable for the Oakland A's, other than fading them, which obviously has been very good, they're now 19-8-2 to the over. They're playing north of 70% of their games over the total thus far this season. As for Cincinnati, they go 2 of 14 with men in scoring position. Nick Senzel was able to go deep off of one Ken Waldichuk for his 2nd home run of the season. Waldichuk gives up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Domingo Acevedo gives up an out of the bullpen while getting just 1 out. But Zach Jackson, Adam Muller, Sam Ball, they piecemeal together 3 scoreless innings. And for the Oakland A's, pair of home runs off of Nick Lodolo, as Brent Rooker gets home run number 9 of the season, and Jesus Aguiar home run number 5 for Lodolo. He gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, including those 2 bombs. And then you had Derek Law, Buck Farmer, both give up a run in an inning. Lucas Sims, he was able to pitch a scoreless inning, and Alexis Cias was brought in to try to hold on inherited runners, and he was unable to do so. He takes a loss. The LA Dodgers, they get the W over the St. Louis Cardinals. 6-3 the final, and for the LA Dodgers, this team has been just absolutely remarkable on the run line in recent years. As for the LA Dodgers, I believe that this is a bunch that has won 123 games, if my math is correct, and they have won all but 20 of them since the beginning of the 2022 season by at least 2 runs, as Jacob Woodford was not long for this game. He gives up 3 runs in 3 2/3 innings. From there, Zach Thompson gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Giovanni Gallegos gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Before you have Drew Verhagen, Ryan Elsley, Jojo Romero combined for 3 scoreless innings. But for the St. Louis Cardinals, they got 10 hits, but they didn't have a lot of scoring opportunities. They went 2 of 2 with men in scoring position, but lots of soft contact. Noah Thor Syndergaard gives up 8 hits, 3 runs in total over the course of 5 1/3 innings, but held it down before Yancy Almonte, Evan Phillips both blended scoreless inning, and Caleb Ferguson, Alex Vesia both give a pair of outs out of the bullpen, and Bruce Gratterall was able to get an out of the bullpen. Then on Sunday Night Baseball, we did see the Philadelphia Phillies fall to the Houston Astros 4-3, as Bailey Falter lived up to his name. He certainly did falter. 4 1/3 innings, gives up 8 hits, 3 walks, 4 runs in total, all of which were earned, including a home run going deep For Houston, you had home run number 2 of the season for one Jake Myers, as Jose Urquidy, he actually gave up 2 home runs, but just 2 runs in total over the course of 5 1/3 innings, as JT Realmuto was able to get his 3rd home run season, and so was Cody Clemens, number 3 of the campaign for him. Houston did give up a run in the bullpen with Brian Abreu being tagged with an unearned run. Alex Bregman had a fielding error out there in his inning of work, but Rafael Montero, Ryan Presley, both on the scoreless inning. Hector Neris, pair of outside the bullpen, and Phillies bullpen from Falter, they were able to get the job done as well. If you had the under, Luis Ortiz, Gregory Soto, both lend a scoreless inning. Connor Brogdon, 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And if you're taking a look at the trends of Major League Baseball right now, this was done with Sunday Night Baseball pending, but in terms of everything that we've seen this season, the bookmakers have done a great job of being able to even out the totals. As of right now, going into Sunday Night Baseball, 204 overs to 200 unders, so 50.5% of games are going over the total thus far this season, and favorites, they've actually been very profitable. 61.5% is what they're hitting on the money line, but out of the 258 teams to win on the money line, you've had 59 fail to cover the run line, laying a run and a half. If you look at the last 7 days of baseball, it's been very apparent there. 54-36 has been the record of favorites on the money line, but on the run line, they have covered just 37 times, and we have seen 47 unders to 40 overs in Major League Baseball over the last 7 days. So that's where we're getting in terms of the trends of Major League Baseball, and that's what we all saw on Sunday. Now let's turn it forward to Monday, and let's take a look at some interesting scheduling spots with Matt Williams. He does a great job over at the GameDay, taking a look at their MLB coverage, and he joins me next right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Are you ready to become a winning sports bettor? Schedule a call with SBIA to find out how their service can make you a long-term winning player. They've developed an innovative algorithm that maximizes units return, and they are so confident in their system that they offer a money-back guarantee. Sign up by October 31st and get their MBA package at no cost until they reach 10 net units. They treat sports betting like a business. So if you want to learn how to make your sports betting dreams a reality, visit them at SBIA1.com and check them out on social media at SBIA Sports.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Great to be joined by this man, as Matt Williams does a great job over at thegameday.com, as he is their lead MLB editor. He does a great job taking a look at so many different things, whether it's first fives, full games, player props. This guy is you cover with a little bit of everything. And I do have to throw this in here, not the current KBO manager that we've seen or the former third baseman of the San Francisco Giants. So that would be pretty epic as well, but this is still a very epic Matt Williams as well, as he does an amazing job following this game that we all know and love. And you're able to follow him on Twitter at Matt Williams, but instead of the L's on Williams, it's 2 7s. So it's Matt WI77 and then Imes essentially. And Matt, it's great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me back. Great to be on the show.
Great to have you aboard. And Matt, what did you make out of the weekend series between the San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres? Because it is right now the talk of baseball. And what I find to be very intriguing is, while we're all caught up in the totals that we saw in those 2 games, a lot of people are losing sight of the fact that now these teams have to play on Monday. They have to go through customs. They have to go across the border and everything like that. And while everyone is trying to quantify how much they won/lost on that series, I feel like there's even better buy spots now this week, especially on Monday, with these teams having to deal with a whole bunch of hoopla with trying to go from Mexico back into the United States to play a game Monday night.
Yeah, people love to fade the Rockies or any team leaving Colorado when they're like flying cross country and have to play the next day. And this is obviously a much more extreme version of that. I was educated on how the series could go before it started. And I see that the over-under creep up on the first game to like 17. I'm like, I got to bet the under. I mean, I understand everything. I understand the elevation. I understand everything, but it's like, that's a lot of runs. And then I just talked myself out of it. I'm like, there's too many question marks. I'm just going to skip it. And, thank God I did. And then the next day I'm like, oh, the under's surely to hit today. But yeah, I totally stayed away from it. I mean, it looks like he probably should have, but yeah, if there's a game there, I'm never betting on it, literally for the rest of my life. That is a solemn promise to the audience. If there's a game in Mexico City, I will never be betting on it. I'll just be watching and enjoying like the rest of us. But yeah, to your point, yeah, there's both the Padres and Giants have to come back over and play on Monday. I'm very interested in fading one of them. semi-confused about the other game, and I think I may be staying away from it, but I guess we'll get to that in a second.
Absolutely. And I mean, before we go into those games, how do you gauge sort of these like one-off series? Because we remember when the Yankees and Red Sox played in London a few years ago, which I didn't feel like that was a series that we should be sending to London. That is the ultimate baseball series. You want that to be played in New York, or you want that to be played in Boston. We saw a similar circumstance where there were a bunch of runs in that as well. And I mean, is our lesson here that if we see a very, very low opener in terms of one of these strange ballparks, perhaps take the over, because it feels like the unknown element seems to play much better for the hitters rather than the pitchers game one before things normalize after that first game.
Oh, certainly. And, who's to say? I mean, if they have longer series, I would be a lot more concerned about the hitters coming out of it, maybe like, almost like a home run derby type hangover, or maybe they've had a little uppercut in their swings. So there's a lot to consider here. One thing's for sure is they cannot put a full-time franchise there. Maybe they can do something where like multiple teams play multiple series there per year, and a lot of different teams get on in it. But yeah, if they are interested in taking advantage of that market, because great crowd, great fans, great atmosphere. I know Monterey is another option, not quite at elevation. Maybe that's the way to go. But I mean, it was certainly exciting and it was cool to watch. But Major League Baseball is going to be interested in taking advantage of the market itself. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it definitely, in terms of putting a full-time team there, I mean, do you think the Rockies have a hard time getting pitchers to sign there? Ain't no one going to be you'll be getting people getting drafted there refusing to sign.
That'd be hilarious. Home and road splits, home ERA of 12, road ERA of 2.3. So, I mean, if you thought Marcus Stroman's home and road splits were bad last season, or John Gray's were extreme a few years ago, you ain't seen nothing yet. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Matt Williams, who does a great job over at the GameDay MLB, and that does lead into the two games that we're going to be seeing between these two teams that were out in Mexico City on Monday. Right now, we've got the Giants as sizable underdogs against the Houston Astros. You're right now finding them between plus 155, seeing as high as plus 170. Meanwhile, the Padres, they are between minus 205 and minus 220. I can tell you right now, I am not going to be betting on either the San Francisco Giants nor the San Diego Padres, but Blake Snell, in any circumstance, being this big of a favorite seems really dicey. Now you've got all the elements that we've talked about. This feels like a really good buy spot on the Cincinnati Reds, even though, well, the Reds have not necessarily been the world's greatest offensive team. But I just take a look at this number, and I can't back Blake Snell here.
Yeah, this is one of the two games I was mentioning. I'll just be avoiding it. You want to fade the Padres, but I don't necessarily. The Reds, I don't mind. I don't necessarily want to jump on the Luke Weaver bandwagon, though. Blake Snell, he's probably fine. He probably flew out. He was probably in San Diego well in advance of the start. Who knows if he even went down to Mexico. I don't think I want to hop on the Reds here because still only 2 games in Mexico. I mean, it's not like maybe they developed really poor habits. But again, I have no interest in backing them here, but it's probably still going to be a somewhat close game. The money line is a little too far for you to obviously consider the Padres, not that we want to fade them anyway. And for the Reds, I don't really want to invest on that side. So I'm just going to avoid it altogether. If anything, I would want to look to have a lean that I'd want to go to maybe like the under. But again, I could see both of these pitchers getting destroyed, even with the lowly Reds lineup. I want to stay away from this one entirely because every reason that I'd have to fade the Padres, the Reds are just not giving me enough reason to trust them.
If there is one thing working in favor of Weaver and Snell, it's that San Diego, especially during the nighttime, is pitcher friendly as it gets. So
yes,
there is that element as well. And then when it comes to the Giants and the Houston Astros are currently between minus 180 to minus 190 favorites. And I mentioned all that I do with the San Francisco Giants. One thing I've been tracking as well, though, these teams coming off of Sunday Night Baseball, and the Astros are going to be coming off of Sunday Night Baseball, they have had some big-time struggles as well now. I think that's also mitigated by the fact that the San Francisco Giants have to come down from 7,000 feet of elevation as well. So there's a lot at play. You're including Ross Stripling getting the start for the San Francisco Giants, who, when he started for the Blue Jays last year, was good, but he's not stretched out to be able to go north of 5 innings for the Giants in this circumstance either.
No, I mean, the last couple of starts, he's gone 3 1/3, 2 1/3, 3 1/3. And the one before that, 1 2/3. When he was actually taken out, he was put in the bullpen and then brought back. So not only has Stripling been struggling when he is in there, like you said, he's not going to be stretched out very much. We're going to see the Giants bullpen early. The Astros, yes, they are coming off of Sunday Night Baseball, but Luis Garcia looked a lot sharper than he did in the beginning of the season. The Astros bats are talented enough where I think if you're getting a short out of Stripling, they're going to be able to take advantage here. So yeah, I am jumping all over the Astros, and I'm very happy to take the run line here. You can get it around like a plus 115, plus 110, plus 115. That's a price I'm very happy to pay here. I'm willing to bet that Garcia is going to be able to stymie the Giants offense, who, again, we think, maybe have some issues coming out of that elevation. And they're going to be facing a pretty crafty pitcher. The Astros will be in a good position. If you're going to come after Sunday Night Baseball, what better than to go off a starter only going to go a couple of innings and then be in a bullpen game the rest of the way. I would expect this line to move quite a bit. I would say before game time, this run line is going to be nowhere near where it is now. So I think a lot of people will be on the same thinking. So yeah, Astros run line right now, I'm jumping all over.
And we shall see if people are going to be of the same mindset on this one. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Matt Williams, who does a great job over at the GameDay with their MLB coverage. It is the good old Jose Barrios road start as the Blue Jays hit the road face-off against the Boston Red Sox. And going up against Mr. Barrios is another untrustworthy starter in Corey Kluber. Mostly seeing 9.5 out there. I'm seeing one straight 10, but what do you make out of this circumstance? Because with Jose Barrios, he's looked good in his last 3 starts, but only one of those 3 starts came on the road. And for Jose Barrios, he's always had his road struggles. Like Corey Kluber, well, you could stick him in Mexico City, you could stick him in Boston, you could stick him in Milwaukee, you could stick him on planet Pluto. I think he would struggle in all 4 of those circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. Barrios, I'm not ready to trust him on the road at all, and I'm not ready to try. I mean, I trust the Toronto bats. I definitely don't trust the Toronto bullpen, who, wow. Talk about fading the bullpens this year, especially late in the game. Their bullpen has had some infuriating meltdowns. They just had one on Sunday where they pretty much had a game in the bag, and they just kind of let that one go. So if anything here, the over-under as high as it probably should be, I would probably be looking towards the over if I'm going to do anything here. I definitely don't want the full game for the Blue Jays because of their bullpen, and I'm not sure I want to invest in Barrios in an F5 situation just in case he gets blown up. I'm pretty sure Kluber is going to get blown up. I'm not sure what the total is. Maybe the first 5 over would be something that I'd be looking at too. That would probably be the only thing I'm really interested in here because there's so many question marks. It's earlier in the year. He's looked good his last 3 starts. One of them was on the road against the Astros. Did hold him to 2 runs, only struck out 3. But I'm going to have to see it again because he has a pretty extensive track record of not putting his best foot forward on the road. So yeah, right now I'm maybe looking at the over, probably like the first 5 over, if anything.
Oh, don't worry. I've got the Jose Barrios numbers for you right here. 357 career homie, all right? A pretty solid 4.96 career ERA on the road. That has ballooned to 6.57 since the start of the 2022 season. So not too terrific there. And right now with the total anywhere between 9.5 and 10, I certainly cannot advocate for an under in this circumstance. But I do think that we've got a relatively interesting slate of baseball on Monday. And we are also going to be getting a doubleheader. Now, as of right now with that Atlanta Braves versus New York Mets series, not really seeing any numbers in terms of either of these games. How do you play doubleheaders, if at all? Because I do think that they are some of the trickiest games to handicap in all baseball. You're typically not getting a number until the AM. So if you don't find what you like immediately when it comes out to the betting board, it gets steamed to high noon, which that makes it very difficult. But is there anything that you might be taking a look at in terms of this doubleheader, if anything at all? Because like I said, it is a very tricky circumstance.
Not really. Well, there's 2 things. Doubleheaders, like you said, are very tricky. And I'm a Mets fan. Traditionally, I like to stay away from sides involving the Mets because I either will over or underanalyze, know thyself, handicap very fairly. But when it comes to certain things, I just make a rule where I try not to bet on the Mets. I bet on enough games. There's, over 4,200 games. I'll just take my chances here with the ones that are available. And the first one, Spencer Strider versus, bullpen game with Denny Reyes going out there for the Mets. Spencer Strider is a massive favorite, as he should be. But again, you never know what to expect out of a bullpen game for the Mets because, it's baseball. So they'll probably go out there and toss a gem, but it is the Braves offense. So I would be pretty blindly okay with taking almost a Braves run line because it seems such stacked in their favor. But overall, I do like to not stick around on doubleheaders because you don't know who's going to be sitting in certain situations. You're both teams played, got a couple of days off, the couple of rainouts, and you don't know what their situation is going to be, who's going to be playing what game. You don't know if something in the first game, as far as the bullpen usage, how that'll affect the second game. You have to kind of wait on that one altogether. But I have no real opinion on the Morton versus Tyler McGill situation. But as far as Strider and Reyes, yeah, I'll wait up until game time. I'd like to see what when lineups are posted. But yeah, depending on the number, it looks like a pretty one-sided the Braves. So, in a run line situation, I don't know what we're going to be looking at there. As far as the over-under, again, it's difficult. Usually when you have like a ace on one side, the other day we had Kevin Gausman. I took the under there, even though he was being opposed by a rookie. The same situation here, but with a bullpen game for the Mets, who knows? The Braves could really light up the scoreboard on them. So I'm going to stay away from the over-under, even though I have it projected at the under. So yeah, for game 1, run line Braves. Game 2, got to wait and see. Probably stay away.
Yeah, it's very difficult when you just don't have really much of anything to go off of in terms of numbers this early on, which makes doubleheaders just such a tricky ordeal. And Matt, just want to give you the floor. Anything else that you're taking a look at for Monday? We've got a few other games, and we do have actually a relatively solid card, despite the fact that it is small for Monday. Anything else you might be taking a look at?
The Cubs Nationals, it's in Washington. I think Drew Smyly, Mackenzie Gore. Man, in the beginning of the year, you just look at it, and it's nothing to really smile at. And the Cubs have been doing well, even though they just got swept by the Marlins. This is actually an okay pitching matchup. Smyly has the ability to get destroyed. We saw what the Nationals did, which was a surprise, but I think Smyly and Gore is a low-key, like a homeless man's pitcher's duel, possibly. I think right now I'm kind of liking the under. You can get it around 8.5. I have it projected well below 8, so I think I love the under in that game. And as far as the rest of the slate, the only thing that really jumps out to me I really love is the Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin is back. Taijuan Walker, his velocity has been down at times. We're not really sure what to expect out of him. I love the run line here because even though the bullpens have looked differently, first fives, I know you don't like to partake in those, but just for the audience in general who may be interested, those have been something to really take advantage of this year because of the bullpens later. Books have really gotten hip to this, and the half a run lines are disappearing. You can't find many at all. They're all 1.5, which kind of makes an F5 run line almost impossible. I don't know who you're taking a run and a half for in the first 5 innings. I'm certainly not interested in doing it. So I do like the Dodgers here for the full game, 1.5 runs, merely because I can't go with the first 5. But yeah, I think the Dodgers and Tony Gonsolin can hold the Phillies down, and I expect the Dodgers lineup to get to Taijuan Walker.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm with the LA Dodgers. I believe out of their last 123 wins, all but 20 have been by 2+ runs. So They've been able to do an amazing job of being able to cover that run line, just like you do a great job of covering this great game of baseball, Matt. I know you're doing an amazing job over at the GameDay MLB, and I know you got a lot on tap. So let the good people at home know they're able to follow you on social media, and just what's all on tap for you?
You can follow me over at thegameday.com. You can find me on Twitter at MATTWI77IMS. I write baseball sides over there Tuesday through Friday, Nerfy Monday through Friday for those that are interested in, I guess, the most exciting 6 outs. Very volatile. You got to pay attention to the juice on those ones, but people love them a lot. And then all the games that I do not cover on the game day, I put out my picks on Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, love asking any questions about fantasy, just baseball in general, or betting.
Matt does an incredible job of taking a look at the great game of baseball, and every single time he joins this podcast, always lends tremendous insights, much like he did today. So a big thanks to Matt Williams for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always good to get Matt Williams aboard. He may not have played at third base for the San Francisco Giants way back in the day, or coached in the KBO, but you know what? This Matt Williams does a great job at the GameDay MLB. Much like the man that played baseball, he absolutely loves this game. He does a tremendous job of being able to take a look at it in so many different aspects, and every single time he joins this podcast, I feel like we all get a little bit smarter. So a big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment, doing great work over at the GameDay MLB. Now it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at GNR_D1. We're going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, and any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Now, the Braves versus Mets game that got washed out yesterday, that is going to be at the bottom of the rotation, but I'm going to do both Mets versus Braves game in this doubleheader together, so that way I'm not just mentioning some of the same stats twice for clarity. So that's the way we're going to go about things today. And we are going to start with that doubleheader. 951, 952, and 965, 966 are all together. Braves are going to be on the road facing off against the Mets. We don't have numbers on either of these games, so I'll just go with the game that is at the top of the rotation first, and that would be the Spencer Strider versus Denny Reyes game, which I believe is game number 1 of this doubleheader. With there being no numbers up on this game, I made the Atlanta Braves a minus 178 on my personal handicap, willing to lay up to a minus 112 on the run line, and I made it to where a 7.5 or less, looking at the over, 8 or higher to the under. For Denny Reyes, he has actually been really good out of the bullpen thus far this season, and I believe that when he was down at the minor league level, he was more of a starter than a reliever. He's a bit of a hybrid guy, but he can offer a few innings. Now, I'm thinking you're probably going to get 3 if you're really lucky, 4 innings, as he's pitched 6 1/3 innings across, I believe, 5 or 6 appearances thus far this season. He's got good swing and miss stuff. You saw that at the minor league level. It's not quite that of Spencer Strider, though. Spencer Strider, north of 13 strikeouts per 9 innings since becoming really a full-time starter in 2022. Guy has been unhittable this year, $1.80 ERA. He has allowed 0 earned runs across his last 14 innings in his last 2 starts, posting up 22 strikeouts and 3 walks, and he has yet to allow more than 4 hits in a game this season. Got a New York Mets lineup that I think they might be able to get to him a little bit more just due to the circumstances. Spencer Strider is not his start pushback in back-to-back days. That's a little bit hard to prepare for, no matter how good of a pitcher you are, but this has been a little bit of a struggling Mets team. They're hitting at 240 as a collective, as you've got Starling Marte, Francisco Lindor, Francisco Alvarez, Tommy Pham, Mark Canha, all hitting below at 225. Jeff McNeil's been able to move the line, sitting about at 300. Brandon Nimmo sitting at 330, and Pete Alonso 10 home runs across 105 at-bats as far this year. He's been tremendous, but the rest of the team has provided a lot of boom. Meanwhile, with the Atlanta Braves, this team led the National League in home runs last season. You've got a trio of guys in Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy that have all given you 6+ home runs. And for Murphy, 6 bombs and 78 at-bats. That's relatively impressive. Ronald Acuna Jr., he's posting up a 440 on base. Murphy has also got nearly a 400 on base as well. You've been able to get a little bit of production out of Sam Hilliard, which has been needed because the team has been a bit banged up. Travis d'Arnaud, Michael Harris being out of the fold has hurt this team a little bit in. So has Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario, not really hitting, but this Braves team has been able to do a solid job of overcoming that. Now for the Braves, big thing has been the bullpen, their league average with regards to their bullpen ERA, because they're missing a few guys. You're still without Tyler Matzik, who's been out for a very long time. Raciel Iglesias is dealing with an injury. Jesse Chavez has not been terrific as far as the season. He's had some hiccups in recent weeks along with Kirby Yates, but Dylan Lee, Joe Jimenez, I like these guys. They bring over Nick Anderson. He's been able to do a solid job. And this is a Mets bullpen that does rank in the top 12 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. They are probably going to need to rely upon Jimmy Yacobonis, who's a little bit more of a long guy, and he throughout his career just has not been great. His home runs per 9 rate for his career is right around 1.7. Journeyman guy that's got north of a 5 career ERA. Adam Ottavino, guys like this have been relatively solid, so I do think that's going to be the piecemeal approach for the New York Mets. Did set my total at 7.8, 7.5 or less, looking at the over, 8 or higher to the under, and with the Atlanta Braves willing to lay up to a minus 112 on that run line, and then we go 965, 966. This is going to be the Charlie Morton versus Tyler McGill start, and in this circumstance, I've got the Mets at a minus 120 and a total to wear an 8.5 or less. I'm looking at the over, 9 or higher. I'm going to be taking a look at the under. Big thing for Charlie Morton is that he was so inconsistent on the road last season. Last season, he had a home ERA that was relatively respectable, right around a 3.05. 5.72 road ERA. On the road, gave up 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and his command has been all over the place dating back to last season. Last year, he sitting about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, posting up the same number this year now. Tyler McGill, right around 4 walks per 9 innings this far this season, and he's allowed 5 home runs in 25 innings. I do think that McGill is going to be able to find it a little bit more at home, though. Last year, he had an ERA that was about a 1.5 better at home rather than on the road, though he had struggles altogether. But I do think that the Atlanta Braves certainly are going to be able to get to the Mets a little bit in this spot, but I really don't trust in Charlie Morton on the road. The New York Mets, they've got David Robertson in the back half of that bullpen as well. Brooks Raley, I believe, is out on the injured list, so you're not going to be able to rely upon him, but I do think that the Mets are going to be able to do a solid job with regards to their bullpen, so I'm looking at the Braves at a minus 112 line or less in game number 1, but in game number 2, looking at the Mets laying minus 120 or less, and in game number 2, 8.5 or less, looking at the over, 9 or higher to the under. Game number 1, 7.5 or less to the over, 8 or higher to the under. 953, 954 on the betting board. The Washington Nationals play host to the Chicago Cubs as Drew Smyly goes for the Cubbies and Mackenzie Gore is on the bump for Washington. 8.5 is the total. Overs between minus 115 and minus 120. The unders anywhere between even and minus 105. When it comes to the Chicago Cubs, you're going to be finding them in between a minus 138 to a minus 145 favorite, and between plus 120 and plus 130 is your number on Washington. And with the Nationals, I needed at least a plus 122 to take a shot here. We have gone there at just about all books, so I'm going to be taking a look at the Washington Nationals. Mackenzie Gore has been able to do a flat-out ridiculous job for this Washington Nationals team, posting up a 3 ERA. And if you go back to his time with the San Diego Padres last season, he had an ERA of $1.50 in his first 9 starts before he had some elbow inflammation. Looks like he's back in full force now. Has to limit the walks. 16 walks in 27 innings. That's robbing him of going deep into starts, but he has went 6 innings in 3 out of his last 4. He has been able to get at least 6 strikeouts in every start this year. His stuff has been filthy, and as we know, Drew Smyly, he had that very near perfect game if he wasn't tackled by Yan Gomes, and he has been tremendous for the Chicago Cubs, as the Cubs have allowed 3 runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts, so he has certainly done his job, and it is a Cubs lineup that entered into the day on Sunday, leading the National League in terms of total runs scored. They have been a little bit up and down with their offense recently, scoring 3 runs or fewer in 3 out of their last 5 games, but this team has been able to do an absolutely amazing job of moving the line. As you take a look at guys that have been able to post up at least 30 at-bats thus far this season, I should say north of 30 at-bats thus far this season, and you don't have a single guy that's hitting below 250. I mean, it's been absolutely ridiculous the way that everyone has been able to get on pace. Not necessarily supreme power, but you do have Patrick Wisdom. He's been able to give the team 7 home runs. Cody Bellinger has been able to supply 7, and for Bellinger, he's back dating about at 300. You've got Nico Horner, Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, Yan Gomes, Nick Madrigal, all hitting at least a 285 for the team as well. Now, for the Cubs, bullpen pitching has been a little bit up and down. They're slightly below average in bullpen ERA, though bringing back Brandon Hughes should be able to help them out. They are currently 18th with this regard. And for the Washington Nationals, they are currently this year 19th in terms of bullpen ERA, so both of these teams relatively equal with that regard. Michael Fulmer has not been able to do his job this season, nor the 6 ERA along Julian Merriweather, but Mark Leiter Jr. has been rock solid in the bullpen. You've had someone like an Albert Elsley be able to do a relatively okay job as well. And for the Washington Nationals last season, you had Hunter Harvey, Carl Edwards Jr., Erasmo Ramirez, and Mason Thompson all post up an ERA of a 3.30 or better. It's been a little bit of tough sledding this year for Ramirez, but someone like Carl Edwards Jr., someone like Mason Thompson having a sub-2 ERA has been very impactful. Just all about getting this Washington Nationals lineup online. As for the Washington Nationals, they have been all over the place with regards to their offense. They have scored at least 4 runs, though, and now 4 out of their last 6 games. This is a team, though, that also has 15 home runs in 27 games this season. And Shamir Candelario, only guy with more than 2 home runs as far this season with 4. But Joey Meneses, Keibert Ruiz, Victor Robles are all hitting above 275 in a small sample size. Stone Garrett, he's been able to above a 300 as well. Lane Thomas, Michael Chavis right around a 330 on base for these guys as well. So they have guys that are able to get on base. They just don't have any thumping power whatsoever. I do think that both of these pitchers are going to have themselves a solid day. For Mackenzie Gore, he has been very good at being able to get you unders all season long. I believe that all but one of his starts have went under the total. I think that trend continues at my total at 7.8. So looking at the under in this spot, and with the Nationals plus 122 or greater, I'm going to be willing to take them with this plus price. 955, 956 on the betting board. It is the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we are on to Cincinnati. And they're onto the road facing off against the San Diego Padres as Blake Snell goes for the Pods and Luke Weaver is on the bump for Cincinnati, and the Reds are anywhere between plus 175 to plus 195 underdogs, anywhere between minus 205 and minus 220. Your number on San Diego, 8.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. I'm going to be taking a shot here on the Reds. I set them at a plus 157. Keep in mind, the San Diego Padres, less than 24 hours ago, were playing in Mexico City. They have to go down from elevation, which we've heard from teams in the past. Coming down from elevation at Coors and stuff, they have to come down an extra 2,000 feet. They have to go through customs because they had to leave the country, and now they're coming back to San Diego. That is a long trip right there. Meanwhile, you had the Cincinnati Reds in Oakland, so legitimately their travel is significantly less than the home team in this one. That I find to be very interesting. And prior to this trip, the San Diego Padres were 26th in the league in terms of runs scored per game, and they were second to last in terms of batting average. I don't think that we can count the Mexico City numbers. They were playing in a bandbox of a ballpark, and We've had a lot of guys that are struggling. Even with going to Mexico City, Awesome Kim, Juan Soto, Trent Grisham are all guys sitting a 215 or lower. It's not been too terrific for them thus far this season. Fernando Tatis Jr. seems to be getting online. Xander Bogaerts, he's hitting above 300. He's been able to supply 6 home runs, but Manny Machado has still been struggling this season. And for the Reds, this is not some sort of an offensive juggernaut or anything like that. You've got one guy with north of 2 home runs this year, and that'd be Joey Vosler, and he's been stuck on 3 home runs since like the middle of April. But you do have guys that are able to get on base. Tyler Stevenson, TJ Friedel, Jonathan India all entered into Sunday, hitting north of a 275. Now, the bottom of the fold with guys like Will Myers, Vosler, who I mentioned before, throwing their Jose Barrero, Stuart Fairchild, Kirk Casale hitting at 225 or lower. They are not helping, but the Cincinnati Reds bullpen has not been bad. I recognize that they really didn't do the greatest yesterday, but Alexis Diaz, Fernando Cruz, both of these guys are gentlemen with a sub-2 ERA from last season. Cincinnati overall is 12th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. The Padres, they are 21st in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, and I believe they actually went up with their series out in Mexico City. So it's not necessarily too terrific. You do have Lucas Sims as well for the Reds bullpen. Alex Young has been posting up a sub-2 ERA. Meanwhile, for the San Diego Padres, they did have to use a lot of arms in that game on Saturday. They honestly shouldn't be too badly rested for Sunday. Brent Honeywell, he's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Josh Hader has been absolutely terrific, but that's it. Got a lot of rules of the dice with guys like Ray Kerr and company, and Blake Snell just has not been too terrific for the San Diego Padres team. As far as this season, his walks per 9 rate is above 6. He has looked a little bit better in his last 2 starts, giving up a combined 4 runs across 10 innings against the Chicago Cubs and the Atlanta Braves. Relatively respectable effort, but 3+ walks in each out of his last 4 starts. Not getting the swing and miss stuff that you typically expect now. He has been able to post up a run and a half better on his ERA at home rather than on the road the past 2+ seasons. But for Luke Weaver, I do think that he's going to be able to find it a little bit more in his first start against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He gives up 4 runs in that first inning, but the next 5 he goes scoreless. Now, he did get shelled in his last start against the Texas Rangers and has given up 5 home runs in 11 2/3 innings. This guy's happened himself since he had a really good 2000 and I believe it was 19 season where he posted up a sub-3 ERA, looked really good, and then he got injured. Has not been the same player ever since then, but I do think that the bullpen is going to have his back. For San Diego, they always have a tough time hitting at home. Last year, they had 3.7 runs per game at home compared to 4.9 on the road, so I did set my total at an 8.3. I think that this is a good get-right spot for Luke Weaver, and I think that this is a terrible spot for the Padres coming back from Mexico City. So I'm going to be willing to take the plus price with the Reds. I'm willing to take anything above plus 158 and take a look at the 8.5 under 957, 958 on the big board. The LA Dodgers, they're going to be playing us to the Philadelphia Phillies as Taijuan Walker goes for the Phils, and Tony Gonsolin is on the bump for the Dodgers. 8.5 is your total. The over is minus 120. The under is even with the Dodgers. Going to be getting them anywhere between minus 155 and minus 172. Between plus 135 and plus 152 is your number on the Philadelphia Phillies. And if you're looking at the run line of the LA Dodgers, you're going to be finding that right around about a plus 120 to a plus 125. I was willing to take a plus 112 or greater. I'm going to be looking at the run line of the LA Dodgers. This team has won all but 20 of their games in the regular season since the start of the 2022 season by 2+ runs. I believe that is 123 total wins. I'll need to double check the math on that, but this team has won north of 80% of their games last 2 seasons by 2+ runs, and it feels like the offense is starting to come back for the Dodgers. They did enter yesterday, hitting at 223 as a collective. That's bottom in the National League, but they also do the best job of drawing walks of any team in the National League, and they lead the National League in home runs. Max Muncy is back in the fold. He's been able to supply the team with 11 home runs. James Outman, 7 home runs, 375 on base. Freddie Freeman has been able to provide a 375 on base as well. So this bunch still has a lot of guys that they're able to move the line. You know that Mookie Betts is going to be able to find it at some point as well. Been able to get a little bit more out of Jason Hayward as well, which is something that you like to see. And the Dodgers yesterday scored, by the way, 6 runs while going 1 of 15 with men in scoring position. So this team always finds ways to be able to score. Now for the Dodgers, they are a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, which is a little bit surprising because you had so many guys like Yancy Almonte, Evan Phillips, Cale Ferguson, Alex Vesia, all that had a sub-3.3 ERA last season. And this season, Phillips along Ferguson have been solid, but Vesia, Yancy Almonte, they have fallen off a little bit, but I do think that they're going to be able to find it a little bit more. You need a bit more out of Phil Bickford. Meanwhile, for the Philadelphia Phillies, Jose Alvarado has actually become one of the best big league closers out there. He has been absolutely tremendous for this team. Now the question is getting the ball to him, as Andrew Vasquez actually has a sub-3 ERA. He's been able to do a little bit of something for the team, but the team still employs Craig Kimbrell. You've had Sir Anthony Dominguez be all over the place this year. The Philadelphia Phillies are currently ranked 23rd in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and the Phillies are pretty much the anti-LA Dodgers right now. They're doing a great job of being able to get on base. They're hitting at 276 as a collective, as you've got Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos, Brandon Marsh, Christian Pache, Armando Sosa all hitting above a 300, and then JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, they're hitting above a 280. They haven't been able to supply as much power, as only guy that has been able to give you north of 4 home runs is Kyle Schwarber with 6, and he's really the one guy that's not hitting for the team. He's hitting about a 206, so has been very intriguing to take a look at. And for Taijuan Walker, he's all about giving up soft contact, but I do think that this might be a situation where he meets his match, and he just has not been able to provide a lot of accuracy. The last few seasons, he's been able to cut down on the walks, which has allowed him to be very effective. Thus far this season, 14 walks in 25 and a third innings. He just has not looked like himself in general. Meanwhile, you've got someone in Tony Gonsolin that I don't think is going to be going very deep. The LA Dodgers have never really let him go deep into starts. They did a little bit more towards back half last season, but he went 3 and a third innings scoreless against Pittsburgh Pirates, but was having command issues. I think that this will be a start where he probably goes about 4, maybe, and I mean maybe 5 innings, but I'm sort of counting on 4 from Tony Gonsolin, but I do think that from there, the rest of the Dodgers bullpen going to be able to do their part, but Taijuan Walker doesn't look like himself. Dodgers bullpen doesn't look like themselves, but the Dodgers, they are mashing. I set my total at an 8.7, so you're at 8.5. Looking at the over and looking at the Dodgers at a plus 112 or better on the run line. 959, 960 on the betting board. The Cleveland Guardians hit the road face off against the New York Yankees. Domingo Germán is on the bump for the New York Yankees, and Cal Quantrill is on the bump for Cleveland, and Cleveland is an underdog of anywhere between plus 110 and plus 115. Anywhere between minus 125 to minus 130 is your number on the Yankees, with 8.5 being the total, the over and the under anywhere between minus 105 and minus 115. And with the Yankees, I did set them at a minus 138 on the money line. I recognize how good the Cleveland Guardians have been when Cal Quantrill's been on the bump. They are actually 19-4 in his last 23 regular season starts, but this Guardians team is not providing him any offense whatsoever, and Quantrill has been known to getting off to some slow starts, and that has been happening thus far this season. He's given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his first 5 starts. Command has been good, 2 walks for fewer in every one of these starts, but not strikeout rate is 15 punch-outs in 25 innings thus far this season, and now he has to go up against a Yankees team that, yes, it has been struggling very much so for the New York Yankees. 2 runs or fewer in each of their previous 3 games, and if you want to date it back a little bit further, this bunch has scored 3 runs or fewer in all but 2 out of their last 8 games, but you still have quite a few guys who are able to supply the boom, including Anthony Rizzo, who's been able to do a much better job of being able to get on base as far this season, 370 on base, 5 home runs. Now, Aaron Judge sounds like he's going to be out of the fold for this game. This is with Aaron Judge out. It sounds like he's going to be returning on Tuesday, but you got DJ LeMahieu who's able to move line, hitting at 250 now. Yankees as a collective hitting at 226, and a lot of this is due to the bottom of the fold. As Waldo Cabrera, Kyle Higashioka, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Aaron Hicks, all these guys have just not been able to supply a lot, but I do think that someone like Jose Trevino is going to be able to help. The Giancarlo Stanton injury has been hurting him. For the Yankees, their saving grace has really been their bullpen. They have throughout the season been number 1 in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, with guys like Wandy Peralta, Michael King, Ron Metanacchio, Albert Abreu, all being absolutely tremendous in the bullpen. Heck, you're able to throw in there Jimmy Cordero as well. I believe that all these guys have been able to supply a 2.70 ERA or better. Clay Holmes has been a little bit testy, but by and large, they've been able to do a solid job. And if you want to date it back to the All-Star break of the 2022 season, the number 1 team in terms of bullpen ERA, that has been the Cleveland Guardians. So James Karinchak has not necessarily been himself as far as this season for the team. You've had Emmanuel Clase be a lockdown reliever for them, though. Nick Sandlin along with Travis Steven. These guys are able to give you some good innings. Anyel De Los Santos, he's had a sub-2 ERA thus far this season as well, but who for the Cleveland Guardians is going to be able to knock the ball out of the park? Because with the Cleveland Guardians, they've got 17 home runs this season. I believe that is second worst in the American League to only the Detroit Tigers. They have been jockeying for last and second to last in the American League with that regard, and you are starting to get a little bit more average with this team, as Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez, they're both now hitting above a 275, but you had Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Will Brennan, Oscar Gonzalez, all also hitting at least a 270 or greater last season, and these guys have fallen off. You've gotten nothing whatsoever this season out of the likes of Josh Bell and Josh Naylor, the 2 guys that were supposed to be power hitters for the team, so that has been quite unsightly. I do think that the New York Yankees going to be able to lock it down with Domingo Germán, who might need to wash his hands a few times during this one, and he has been very up and down, giving up 7 home runs in 26 innings thus far this season, and at home he's been significantly better than he has been on the road, but still has given up 4 home runs in 17 innings, and aside from that start against the Minnesota Twins, he has had his issues all season long, so it's a good old situation if something's got to give. I set my total at 8.4, so you're at 8.5. Even though it is Yankee Stadium, I'm looking at the under, especially with Aaron Judge out of the fold, but I do think that the Yankees have enough to be able to get by with their bullpen. Set the Yankees at a minus 138, so taking the Yankees on the money line and the under. 961, 962 is going to be the DK Nation write-up pick, as you've got the Toronto Blue Jays on the road facing off against the Boston Red Sox. Corey Kluber is going to be going for the Sox, and Jose Barrios is on the bump for the Toronto Blue Jays. Mostly seeing 9.5s out there, seeing one straight 10 out there. On the 10, the under is minus 115, the over is minus 105. Meanwhile, on the 9.5, over is between minus 110 and minus 120. The under is only between even and minus 110. Meanwhile, with the Blue Jays, they are anywhere between minus 132 to minus 140 favorites, between plus 118 and plus 128 is your number on Boston. I said the Red Sox at a plus 123, so being able to get north of a plus 125, I'm going to be willing to take the Boston Red Sox on the money line, but right up big here, we've got an Jose Barrios road start. I think you guys know where I'm heading. Yep, that's right, it's on the over. Whether you got a 9.5 or a 10, I set my total at 10.3, so as long as it stays below 10.5, I am all aboard on the over with Jose Barrios. He has always had his road struggles. At home, Jose Barrios has actually been a relatively good pitcher, and we've seen him the last 3 starts. He has allowed 3 runs across 19 innings. With that said, for his career, Jose Barrios, 3.57 ERA at home, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, north of 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, 4.96 career road ERA. And if you want to just go from the start of the 2022 season, on the road, Jose Barrios, 6.57 ERA with 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Meanwhile, Corey Kluber has not been any better. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings in his last start against Baltimore, but 6.75 ERA thus far this season, giving up 2.6 home runs per 9 innings. His command was very good last season. It's been a little bit more shaky this season, though. He was able to get a little bit of that back against the Baltimore Orioles, but I'm not willing to buy in on this Boston Red Sox bullpen. I recognize that thus far during the 2023 season, they've been relatively okay as in terms of bullpen ERA, they're currently 13th, but if you date it back to the All-Star break of the 2022 season, 29th out of 30 teams with north of a 5 ERA. Meanwhile, you've got a Toronto Blue Jays team that thus far this season, they are 14th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, and with the start that they got yesterday, they really had to bury through that bullpen. Along with that, they had to go to extra innings, so that's far from terrific. You just take a look at this Blue Jays bullpen, and I mean, Jordan Romano has been a little bit up and down this season, but I still think that he's going to be fine. The main guys are guys like Yimi Garcia, Anthony Bass, posting up north of a 6 ERA, which that's a very, very bad and buttery situation with Anthony Bass in terms of the way that things are popping with Zach Pop giving you a 4.38 ERA. Tim Mesa, Eric Swanson have been solid, but Bass said it's not too great. And then for the Boston Red Sox, you've got the untrustworthy man himself and Kenley Jansen. Along with that, you're having to rely upon gentlemen like a Caleb Orr, Ryan Brazier, Brendan Bernardino. This is not a place where you want to be. For the Boston Red Sox, are they a little bit top-heavy with their lineup? Yes, but Rafael Devers has been a man possessed thus far this season. 9 home runs thus far this campaign. Alex Verdugo, along Justin Turner down for what? North of a 360 on base for both of these guys. Along Masataka Yoshida, after a slow start to the season, he's been able to get online really since that 8th inning of the game against the Milwaukee Brewers last week. He has been able to do a tremendous job. You've been able to get a little bit more out of the likes of Christian Arroyo, Christian Wong. Both of these guys are now hitting above a 240, so it's turning around for a team that has been relatively top-heavy this year with guys like Tristan Casas and company not being able to do a whole heck flat end. For the Toronto Blue Jays, it's been rather shocking the fact that this team hasn't cranked out more home runs than they have, and I feel like we're sort of getting to the point where this team is becoming beyond due. They're actually tied for 18th right now in the big leagues in terms of home runs. When it's all said and done, the Toronto Blue Jays, I feel very safe in saying, are going to be much better than 18th in the league in terms of total home runs, as you've got that good trio in Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Matt Chapman, all these guys hitting at least a 300. All these guys have been able to provide between 5 and 6 home runs thus far this season, and nobody else has more than 3 home runs, which you got to figure that Dalton Varsho, Long George Springer, Danny Jansen, Brandon Belt, all these guys hitting at 225 or lower, they're going to be able to pick it up. And for the Blue Jays, they still have been able to hit at 255 on the road. That's still tied for 7th in the big leagues. They do a solid job of being able to move the line I think that you've got two very good lineups in this spot. You've got two less than terrific bullpens. You've got two starters that I have absolutely no faith in whatsoever. So right up pick here, whether you've got a 9.5 or 10, I'm going to be taking a look at the over. And in terms of Red Sox, we're going to take them at a plus 124 or greater. And wrap things up with 963, 964 on the betting board. The San Francisco Giants are on the road facing off against the Houston Astros. As you got Luis Garcia on the bump for the Astros, and Ross Stripling is on the bump for the Giants. And the Giants are anywhere between plus 155 and plus 170 underdogs, between minus 180 and minus 190. Your number on Houston, 8.5 to 9 is your total. On the 8.5, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 9, the under is minus 130 and the over is plus 110. I'm going to take the over 9 at a plus 110. I set my total at a 9.2. I don't want to lay the minus 120 when I'm able to get a plus 110, as the Giants had to utilize quite a few bullpen pieces in that series out in Mexico City. And even prior to them going to the Mexico City, the team was in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. That went even further down with that series, but I mean, these guys have just not been too trustworthy all season long. And I liked Ross Stripling and what he was able to do with Toronto last season. He has not been himself this year because they have sent him from the bullpen to being a starter to being back in the bullpen. They are just really messing with him and just his whole workflow. For Ross Stripling last year, the command was good, and thus far this year, 5 walks and 15 2/3 innings, but has never been too much of a strikeout pitcher. And I used to go up against the Houston Astros team that I did have to deduct a little bit of value from them because they did play on Sunday Night Baseball yesterday, but they don't have to travel coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. And you do have a pair of guys in Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker who have been able to do an amazing job all season long. These two guys have been able to supply a combined 11 home runs. Both of these guys are supplying north of a 375 on base as well. Now, Alex Bregman having a traditional struggle to begin the season, as Bregman, David Hensley, along with the entire catcher spot for this team, is sitting below a 225, but Mauricio Dubon has made way to a 3 iron. Jeremy Pena is starting to move the line, as well as Pena had a really rough start to the season. He had a pair of home runs in that series against the Philadelphia Phillies, and for the Astros, they still had the top bullpen in terms of ERA a season ago. I expect a little bit of regression this season, but you know what? This Astros bullpen is starting to look a lot more like it did a season ago going into Sunday Night Baseball. They were 6th in the league in terms of bullpen ERAs. You had Ryan Stanek, Brian Abreu, Rafael Montero, along with Phil Maton, Seth Martinez, all supply a sub 3.3 ERA last season. Thus far this season, you've had Stanek act up a little bit, but still got some very good trustworthy pieces, as Phil Maton, along with Brian Abreu and Montero, have all been able to give you a sub 2.5 ERA. And I do think that you're going to get a little bit of a better start out of Luis Garcia. Garcia has had very demonstrative home and road splits in recent seasons, because it feels like he is going to have an ERA that's either going to be a 1.5 higher at home rather than on the road, or it's going to be vice versa. Like last season, 446 home ERA compared to a 285 road ERA. Season before, 424 road ERA, 239 home ERA. So he has been very up and down. He does give up quite a bit of hard contact, but he's been able to contain that a little bit more this year, giving up 3 home runs in 27 innings. I could tell that the pitch clock was certainly getting to him a little bit, but he's tossed 2 gems in his last 2 starts, a combined 13 scoreless innings against the Blue Jays and the Rays. So very good competition there. I do think that he's going to continue to be rock solid against the Giants team that, even prior to going to Mexico City, these guys were averaging 2 home runs per game on the road. And I do think that when it's all said and done for the Giants, you're not going to have a single guy that gives you north of 30 home runs, but you could wind up with like 7 guys that give you north of 20. As right now for the Giants, I believe that you've got 9 total guys that have at least 4 home runs. Michael Conforto, David Villar, Thairo Estrada, Mikey Strubsky, Blake Sabel, Labonte Wade Jr., J.D. Davis, Brandon Crawford, Wilmer Flores. Crawford has been dealing with a little bit of an ailment and is hitting just $1.69. And really, as a collective, the Giants throwing about a 244. Not great, not terrible, but I mean, other than J.D. Davis, Mikey Stremski, throwing their Thairo Estrada, guys have not been able to move the line a whole heck of a lot, though. Mitch Haniger could be able to provide the team a little bit of upside. I do think that the Giants are going to be able to take Luis Garcia deep once or twice, but this is a Giants team that they themselves, you've got a little bit of trepidation with. I am willing to take up to a plus 170 with the Giants on the run line in the spot, but if you're taking a look at the run line, like we were talking about with Matt, I was willing to take anything north of a plus 105 with the Astros. I am seeing it as high as a plus 115. At current numbers, I'd be willing to take the plus 115 run line of the Astros rather than taking the plus 170 money line with the San Francisco Giants. Now, if the run line price remains the same and I'm able to get more like a plus 180, plus 185, 145 with the Giants, I would be looking there. So I am currently in wait and see mode to see what plus price I like a little bit better. I'm sort of expecting when it's all said and done, I get a plus 180 on the Giants, and I'm looking there, but I'm going to let this marinate. At current numbers, I would be looking, though, at that plus 115 run line price of the Astros to go along with this total over, and that will wrap things up. For the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Visa Family Podcast, big thanks to Matt Williams of the GameDay and their MLB coverage for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @Unit_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM. They mean does not matter. As per usual, please send these into the timeline. Other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you are able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, and that means I'm coming at you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.